Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to take a look at yet another Collecta figure, another of the 2021 Collecta figures, and this one is another of my very much so anticipated figures, and at this point we're only seeing the body of the figure because this one is quite tall and has a very long neck. As you can see, that this is the Mamenchisaurus, and it is a very large figure overall. You can see now again why we could only see the body when we were kind of letting the camera sit down. Once we actually pick it up and hold it, you could definitely see that the figure as a whole, being a Mamenchisaurus, of course, sports a pretty impressive size overall, but also an incredibly gorgeous appearance. This is definitely another of the many unbelievably beautiful figures from the Collecta 2021 line, and something that, again, as far as I'm concerned, may be one of, if not the best versions of this species out there. So let's go ahead, get a closer look at it right now. So as usual, we start at the head sculpt, and you can see that the head sculpt of this Mamenchisaurus is beautifully done. There is a lot of really nice scale detail included in the head sculpt of the figure. You can see so many different varying sizes of scales, and just in general, a lot of really nice detailing to the head sculpt of the Mamenchisaurus. You can also see the nostrils are sculpted out right there. The inside of the mouth as well looks to be pretty nicely done. You have the teeth sculpted out and as well as painted quite nicely. And you can see the inside of the mouth as well a little bit, but it's very hard to get into with such a small mouth. But the tongue is definitely painted inside the mouth there. I don't know if maybe you try to focus right in there. You can kind of see the paintwork there on the inside of the mouth as far as the tongue goes, but it's not really showing up too well on camera. But it is nicely painted within the mouth, and you can also see the eyes, as usual, are glossed and painted to perfection here on the head of the Mamenchisaurus. You can see as I turn it, again, that gloss coat looks super lifelike, giving off that very realistic eye shine. As we start to move back into the body of the Mamenchisaurus, you can see lots and lots of osteoderms picking up, as well as a row of ridges that run along the back of the Mamenchisaurus. You can see them start right up here at like the center of the top of the head, and then they run the course of the neck down the entire course of the dinosaur. And there's some really nice, very smooth coloration included as far as like the transitions between the colors that we have here. But one thing that I think is really cool about the figure is that it's got like a very nice kind of a light tan wash. So it may be a little hard to pick up on right now in the neck due to the fact that the scales are pretty small, but there is a really nice tan wash that's included that makes the detail pop really nicely. As we move down the neck, you can continue to see these ridges here on the top of the neck get larger and larger. As we continue to move further and further down, you can see the scale detail as well starts to get a little larger the further down we go into the neck, as it starts out pretty fine, but then as we continue down, you might be able to pick up on that kind of tannish wash that I was mentioning, especially in this area. You can really see it starting to pop through each and every one of the scales, but then we still have some really smooth transitioning between colors, as we have the spinal column area of the Mamenchisaurus is like a very dark gray, but then we get to a very nice light gray here on the side, and then transition to almost like a light blue here on the underside. It's like a mixture of a light blue or a light gray kind of a color. It's a very cool looking coloration that's included there. But again, as we continue to move down the course of the neck, we see lots and lots of osteoderms picking up here and there. They just show up everywhere. And you can see again that the scale detail is just off the charts beautiful as far as that neck sculpt goes. But then once we get down here into the body, you start to see the body start to take shape here, and you can see instantly the very first thing that I would think you would notice would be the very strong appearance to the front leg. That musculature is beautifully defined, as well as just generally kind of showing like the pressure on the leg, it seems, and just generally also the kind of movement of like the muscles tensing and flexing as that leg is just about to pick up off the ground. You can see it's just picking up off the ground right there, showing the movement throughout the leg really nicely. But you can also probably pick up on that kind of tan wash that I was mentioning a little better down here on the body in comparison to up on the neck, as it's again a little bit bigger, a little bit more impressive as far as the size of the scales go down here in comparison to up on the neck. And I think that shines through a little better as far as that kind of tannish wash. You can even see it's included down here on the foot sculpt of the Mamenchisaurus, but that foot sculpt looks great. The nails are painted really nicely. Well, we only have one nail on the front feet, but you can see it's painted really nicely with kind of a light tan and then dry brushed over with a darker brown, which Gives it a beautiful, very realistic appearance, I would say, as well. You can see some of the skin kind of stretching off of the body here, showing the movement as that leg is picking up. You can see that skin stretching quite nicely. Some nice shading has been applied, as you can see some darker colors. Very subtle as far as the application of those darker colors, but they show up quite nicely as well, very smooth and realistically. You can really see how nice that wash looks here in the stomach region of the Mamenchisaurus. It really shines in that area, I would say. You can also see some pretty significant girth in the stomach region of the Mamenchisaurus as well. Definitely a very nicely fed animal. You can see more of the skin stretching off of the body here on the rear leg, although there's not really too much going on as far as the movement here shown in the rear legs. It's just kind of standing still as far as the rear legs go. It looks like maybe it's taking a step forward to take a bite to eat from a high tree or something along those lines. That's kind of the feeling I get as far as the positioning of the body. But you can really see the very nicely defined musculature here in the thigh and then down in the calf as well. The foot sculpt looks beautiful back here. Very nicely painted nails. Again, same style of paint that we saw on the front foot. And you can also see again that kind of tan wash shining through here and there. The paint application of this figure I feel like is really realistic looking overall. And then as we continue to move down the course of the body, you continue to see those ridges as they get a little bit bigger right here in comparison to right here. You can see it just start to get a little larger right there, but then it kind of transitions back down to a smaller kind of a ridge line that runs out the length of the tail. You can see a seam right here where the tail was connected, but I don't think that's any type of an issue at all. You can see that the scale detail continues to look just absolutely gorgeous throughout the entire figure, and the fact that they've included that kind of tan wash I feel like really amps the realism of the figure up quite a bit. And then we have this very interesting looking tail out here at the end that kind of ends in almost like a club at the tip of the tail, which is really cool. And you can also see that that as well includes that kind of tannish wash. Very cool as far as that goes, but again, a beautiful appearance to the figure. If we take a look over here at this side of the head looks great over here as well. Again, very nicely painted eye right there. And just generally, the entire dinosaur just looks like a very large, bulky animal, which is, again, exactly what it would be. As we continue to move down the neck, you can see how gorgeous that skin texture looks. You can also see the throat very nicely elaborated here on the underside of the model. And then we continue to move down this exceptionally long neck of our Mamenchisaurus, and you can see as the scale detail just kind of grows in size as it gets larger and larger as we move down into the body. The osteoderms again continue to look really cool throughout the entire figure. I really quite like the osteoderm-like look that we have on the figure. You can definitely see some very nice musculature here in the chest region of the Mamenchisaurus, as well as, again, some very nice tensing to the muscles over here. You can really see kind of like the shoulder blade protruding right here, and that's because now this leg is pretty much supporting the entire weight of the front of the dinosaur, as this leg is just leaving the ground, so you can really see how that's tensing. Very realistic attention to detail on the part of Collecta, and you can also see, again, that the scale detail looks incredible on the figure. Beautiful foot sculpt, just like we had seen on the previous side. And then once we move back up here into the body, you can just generally continue to see like tensing throughout the entire body right here. That's very nicely done on the part of Collecta as far as showing a lot of realism in the sculpt as far as like the movement that is occurring. And you can see that the scale detail and the texturing looks beautiful continuously throughout the entire figure, and that wash plays off of that detailing really beautifully. Nice musculature here on the rear leg. Again, we can kind of make out the kneecap there in the front, but it's not overly defined. But it is definitely there. And then we can see the rear foot again. The nails are painted nicely, again given that very nice dry brushing over top of the nails with that kind of alternate variation of like a darker brown. And then we lead back up into the tail and then run out the length of the tail. The tail does have a pretty nice curve to it, but it's nothing overly crazy, nothing that I would say is even remotely unrealistic. And then of course the neck as well has a very nice curve to it, kind of, again, making it look like it's reaching up to take a bite out of a tree or something like that to get some vegetation. And then the underside sports a very, very highly detailed appearance, just like we had seen on the upper side, including the cloaca, which does have some alternate coloration there to kind of insinuate a dirty appearance. And again, really nice coloration here for the underside. I actually like that tone of color a lot, but this figure as a whole is just incredible and almost a little bit hard to get into frame because it's so large, but just a beautiful, beautiful interpretation of a Mamenchisaurus. Now, as far as a size goes, we're not going to be able to get the entire body in frame right now at this point in time. So for a length from the tip of the tail to the head here, and we have it upside down, but we are looking at about the 18-inch range, or about 46 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity. And then for a height, again, we do have some pretty good height on the figure, as we have it at about 8.5 inches, or around the 21.5, closing in on 22 centimeter range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line, next to our beautiful Collecta Mamenchisaurus, and you can definitely see that it sports, again, a very large size, like I've spoken about numerous times in this review. The size of this Mamenchisaurus is very impressive overall, especially when you see how much taller it is in comparison to the Papo Rex. But again, being a Mamenchisaurus, you would expect it to have some decent size to it. And for another size comparison, here is the Mamenchisaurus next to quite a few of the other 2021 Collecta releases, so you can again see how much larger the figure is, as it just completely towers over so many of the other ones, as we have the Neovenator, the Megalosaurus, the deceased Brontosaurus, as well as the Camusaurus. And you can see they are all much smaller in comparison to this Mamenchisaurus, of course, really showing off the very impressive size overall of this gorgeous figure. So this 2021 Collecta Mamenchisaurus is extremely impressive. It is definitely a gorgeous figure, and that is something that I have said continuously with each and every one of the reviews of these new 2021 Collecta figures, as they have just provided us with a plethora of beautiful figures again this year, just like they do every year. It's never any different. They just provide us with overall incredible quality in the releases, as well as a lot of figures continuously. And on a year where many people kind of had a lot lower as far as releases go, a lot less than they usually do, Collecta still manages to cram a ton of figures into their 2020 year and just release a bunch of really, really beautiful figures overall. And that, I think, is just a testament to how good Collecta truly is, and one of the many reasons why I love them. But you can see that this Mamenchisaurus is beautifully done throughout the entire closer look that we took at it. You can see that the scale detail is just gorgeous. The head sculpt is absolutely magnificent. The detailing throughout the body is all really nicely present, especially showing things like kind of like the tensing in the legs as it's taking a step, or putting pressure on one leg more so than another. The skin stretching where it should be stretching, skin folding where it should be folding, even including very interesting aspects like kind of like that club tail there at the end. And of course, this is all brought together beautifully with the paintwork, and the paintwork is really nicely applied. Very smooth transitions between the colors, especially when you look at the transitioning between the darker gray to the lighter gray to that kind of like a bluish lighter gray on the underside. All of the transitions between those colors is so smooth, so realistic. And then they have included this really cool kind of like a light tan wash, which I absolutely love, because on top of just giving extra color variation to the figure, I feel like it kind of gives the dinosaur an overall sort of like a dirty, like a dusty kind of an appearance. And that is something that you would definitely see on a very large sauropod like this, because I highly doubt that they're going to be consistently standing in the water and bathing and everything like we used to see the old school sauropods kind of depicted as just being sort of swamp dinosaurs. But of course we know that is not true, and now looking at this figure, I think they've really given it a lot of realism by adding in that kind of tannish wash, again providing a very dirty-like appearance to the dinosaur overall, or just a dusty-like appearance, I guess I should say. Similar to what we see on animals like elephants. Like if you look at an elephant, they kind of have like that dusty appearance to them. And that's exactly the same type of look and feel that I get from this Mamenchisaurus. So you take into consideration the incredible sculpt work, the beautiful paintwork, and you cram that with a very nice, very impressive size, and this is another incredibly awesome surefire win from Collecta. So as per usual, make sure you keep checking back to Everything Dinosaur, or keep following their social media accounts if you do in fact have social media, so you can keep up to date on all of their upcoming figures that they are going to be stocking, which of course would include these Collecta 2021 figures. They should be coming into stock sometime very soon. Obviously, throughout the year, they'll be releasing different figures as time goes on. So make sure when this Mamenchisaurus does come into stock, you pick it up. You will not be disappointed, as it is beautiful. And make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.